Hey everybody, welcome to All About the Game. My name is Todd Blyleven and I'm joined by my host, Dave Majeski. How you doing, Dave?
Good morning, Todd. Good morning, Todd. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So excited to be here and start this podcast again. I think it'd be awesome for our new viewers and listeners to be able to listen to a little bit about who we are, why we're doing this show, and when we're going to be launching the show. So I'll go ahead and take the lead real quick. My background, look me up, Google my name. I kind of grew up in the game of baseball with my dad, Burt Blyleven, playing, and I played pro ball, was a major league scout, and have kind of worked with teams. I was a facility owner, so I understand the difficulties that private coaches have in today's market, to the facility owners trying to make a dollar and keep kids coming in and using the facility, to running travel teams and so on. And then I've got a son that's going to be a senior this year, that's an aspiring baseball player, and a daughter that's a dancer. And I've been in the corporate space over the last 10 years. So enough about me. Dave, you've got an incredible journey yourself. I mean, do you still hold the stolen base record at University of Florida?
I would like this to be an angry answer. I don't hold any records anymore, I don't think. But it can't be an angry answer because they were broken by a great guy named David Eckstein. I hold no grudges. I wish he was a jerk, but he's not. So yeah, I rooted for him and was happy when he broke all the records.
Amazing. And so give us some background on you, and from the playing to the coaching to the parenting. I think that's what's really unique. We have a very similar background in all the touch points that we've had throughout sports, but love to hear about you.
Sure. Well, my father, kind of like yours, grew up in the sports world. He was an All-American football player, had 5 kids that all played college sports. My younger brother, to brag on him, was actually an All-American and spent some time with the Dodgers. I went to the University of Florida, ended up with the Brewers for a little bit, and decided to get quickly into the coaching realm. Did about 10 years of high school coaching in baseball. And when my twin daughters got to be about 5 or 6, I thought maybe I should get into the softball world. So headed into collegiate coaching, had 4 different stops, including the University of Florida as the assistant. And I miss coaching the boys in baseball, but there's nothing like coaching the girls. Probably the best decision I ever made. And I imagine a bunch of our stories and our podcasts are going to be, back and forth between positives and negatives of baseball and softball. So there's a little teaser for everybody.
Yeah, it's I think one of the things I remember when I was doing some lessons one day, and I had my team. I had a 13-year-old baseball travel team. I had these kids in there. We were doing agility training, and we had rented out a long 70 by 14-foot lane in a facility in Southern California. And all of a sudden, we're about 30 minutes in, and my players are dogging it. They're tired. They're boys. They're 13-year-old boys. And in comes this 13U softball team. I'm not going to mention the name of who they were, but really they were a nationally ranked team. And I'll tell you, they were doing the same thing, but they ran circles. I didn't hear one girl complain, not one time. And they were going after it, picking each other up, doing all the 5, 10, 5 shuttles. They were sprinting. They were doing jumping jacks. They were doing all these things. And my boys were literally at that time stopping and watching them. They're 13-year-old boys, but they were stopping and watching in awe because these girls were just beasts. And it opened my eyes to how dedicated softball players are and awesome they are in terms of that go-getter mentality. And you wish sometimes you could take that and that learning experience and push it into baseball. And then there's pieces to baseball going to softball. So you're right. We are going to bring on some pretty cool guests that have played at the highest level, that have the highest accolades you could possibly have in those sports. And they're going to talk to each other, and we're going to hear about the differences between, what was it like to toe up on the rubber as a softball pitcher to a Major League Baseball player or pitcher, and that mentality that goes into it. So I'm really excited to bring on those special guests and talk sports. And we're not only going to do that in baseball, softball, Dave. We're going to do that in football. We're going to do it in other sports, because I think, there's so many different similarities in different sports, right? I know sometimes we, as baseball players, may make fun of other sports. Other sports make fun of baseball players or softball players, and they just don't understand it. But there is a commonality, I think, when you think about when that NFL running back or that Pop Warner running back puts the mouth guard in and it's game time, or the softball player steps in the box and it's game time. You know what I mean? So I think I'd love to get into that kind of nitty gritty mentality as an athlete, and truly understand and listen to some of those stories from some people that have had a lot of success. I think it'll be educational.
To kind of connect you and I, to let everybody know, Todd's in Texas and I'm in Georgia. So he and I go back and forth, and we try to talk business, but usually we just end up sharing stories and laughing and making each other just cry because we're laughing so hard. And Todd and his son Dylan Dylan was playing a game in the Georgia area, so Todd and I finally got to meet, and it was like two old friends, two old baseball players just hanging out, and we watched his son, but most of it was just some good old friends hanging out watching baseball. And we looked at each other and thought, well, we're kind of entertaining each other. Maybe these stories and these bad dad jokes might be entertaining to somebody else. So that's about where we're heading with this. I don't know if we have a set schedule or an agenda. We might start talking softball and end up talking cricket by the time we're done. So yeah, sit back and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, definitely. Talk about cricket. I live in Frisco, Texas, and so we've got a lot of cricket players and games, little neighborhood games popping up, and one happens to pop up every once in a while across the street. What an amazing sport! And not knowing really much about it, these guys are out there, they're just dads, they're kind of grown men, but they are having a blast. And there's got to be 20, 30 players. It's just like an old sandlot pickup game, when you were younger, or a wiffle ball game, but they're playing a legitimate pro kind of sport with this big bat that trying to hit the ball. So similar to baseball, softball in terms of the swing and things. But yeah, we're going to get into some of that stuff. And I think too, I'd love to, my background, the last 5-6 years, I've really been a student of today's analytics and technology, and working with and consulting with some pretty cool, national brands, or I should say international, since their brand reaches globally, with Pocket Radar and some others around, radar usage, speed measurement, ball barrel, velocity captures, spin rates, all the different things that you're hearing now that coaches are recruiting players with in baseball and softball, more, particularly in those two sports, as the other sports are starting to adopt certain analytical measurements. But I want to make sure that we're talking about that too, because I think it's really important. And I think there's certain areas that we can talk about in how today's technology is being used in showcase events, how it's sometimes being used improperly in all, to be honest. And I think this could be educational to coaches that are running camps and events, and even organization owners, when we talk about how some of the metrics that are being captured aren't as accurate as what maybe they could be, which then gives that player a better profile and better opportunity to get seen by college coaches, and make sure they're up on that list as best as they can be. And so I think we're going to talk about some of that stuff, right? Not only coming from the more corporate kind of structure and educational platform, but really as a parent too. Like, what does that mean to you, as a parent, and you're sitting at the dinner table and your kid maybe just went to a showcase, he didn't perform as well as what he would have liked analytically. And now me being an expert, I'm looking at it going, well, if they would have screwed on that diamond kinetic sensor into the barrel of the bat a little bit more, and there wasn't such a wiggle, or there was consistency in where the ball was placed, and there was enough time for the ball to travel through the radar beam, then you would have probably had a better consistent capture of your exit velocity and barrel speed and metrics. But instead, it wasn't done properly. And so therefore your numbers are down. If I took you out tomorrow, your numbers would be right where they should be and where they've been on an average. So what does that mean to his profile when you look him up and he's down? He's not even in the search category. I wouldn't even find him if I was a college coach looking for kids.
I think that's well said, Todd. And if you think of it from a parent standpoint, there are going to be experienced parents out there, ex-coaches, ex-major league players, but, it's going to run the gamut all the way down to the single parent, the single dad, the single mom who's an accountant, a nurse, never played a sport in their life. And you just get inundated with all these products, with all these emails. What camp should I go to? What does this system do? Oh, hey, wow, this provides certain analytical information. But what does it all mean? And what's good and what's bad? How do we fix it? How do we adjust? How do we use this to hopefully get a college scholarship or maybe go pro if that's the route they're taking? So, yeah, there's a lot of confusion. You're only as good as the information you have. Hopefully we'll answer a lot of those questions for everybody.
And you bring up a great point there. And I think, what our listeners and viewers have to try to understand is, we don't know everything. But I think when you look at the combined years that you and I have both spent in sport and been, we're fathers, we've raised athletes, we've been through the trials and tribulations of their highs and lows, we've fundraised, we've done all these things that parents today are still doing. We've had those concerns about the recruiting piece, about making a team. Is he or she on the right travel team? Am I doing the right thing? Am I working on the right stuff with them? How do I identify the mechanical flaws? If you don't have the background in sports, like I've got, some family members that don't have the background in playing sports or coaching sports, where do they go? And what are their questions? So we want to open up a forum here on the show where you can email info@thescouthub.com and go ahead and put a subject on there, all about the game podcast question, or just question about, for your podcast. Put something in there so when our people open up those emails and they can see that it's a question for the podcast, whatever that is in sports, we want to be able to try to answer those. We're going to have a section on the podcast where we go through our Q&As. We're not going to be able to hit everybody. We'll certainly try to get back to people either via email, through social media. Maybe it'll be answered in a later show. But please, info@thescouthub.com, and I'm going to flash it up on the screen there, so we can start getting some emails. Eventually I'd like to do a live Facebook podcast too, which I think would be a lot of fun once we start getting some followers and I don't know, it'll be uncensored. So,
well, we're full of bad dad jokes. So if we time it right, it could be dinner and a show. Yeah, we'll answer all the questions, entertain, you name
it. I could get out my guitar and
that's it.
Play some bad music. So
you're like a variety show almost.
Hey, I'm getting really good at my guitar right now. I can play Happy Birthday. I'm almost there in the Star Spangled Banner. Doing some things that, just nobody's done before with the guitar. So
I'm glad you brought that up. I ordered air guitar from Amazon. They brought the wrong color. So yeah, I'm still waiting.
Yeah. It's I'm really excited. We're going to be bringing on a lot of guests again, and various sports backgrounds. I think too, we need to. This is powered by the Scout Hub. You and I started really with our relationship, building the second half of this. So it's something I launched about a year and a half ago in terms of the first concept of what it was, trying to help athletes, get evaluated by Major League Scouts. Was introduced to you, and then it, quickly evolved into softball, bringing on some iconic, softball gurus like Carly Hoover and Samantha Chow, and just all these really cool people. Your wife, Leah Majeski, super stud softball player at Alabama, and amazing person, working as the director of softball and volleyball for Mizuno, which is a pretty cool job in itself.
It's not easy not being the brains or the beauty of the coupling here, but I deal with it.
Yeah, it's just a job. It's just a job. But we're gonna, bring on some guests talking about sports education. We'll bring, I got guys like Steve Springer that's been wanting to get on our show. Right when we first launched it, that wants to talk about his quality at bats and his approach to hitting, which I think will be interesting to hear, coming from a guy like him that has worked with major league players all over, to the sports performance, athletic performance people that have worked with the Olympic athletes on body care, arm care. So I think, we're going to, between our networks, we've got a laundry list of really cool guests that we're going to be bringing on. And I'm really excited to just talk
when you
sports.
talk about titling this all about the game, that one baseball game where you and I are watching, Dylan, you and I think covered everything from pregame rituals to a hitting lesson, good and bad, to our favorite flavor, sunflower seeds. So yeah, depending on the emails, depending on what people want to hear about, what kind of questions they have, this could go many directions, and I'm all for it. I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, I am too. And I know one of the things, we talked about was approach. We touched on the mental aspect of the game, not only from the player's perspective, but also from the parent's perspective, and how to go about, dealing with your athlete pregame, postgame, the journey in between games. When do you push the aggressive button? When do you, hold back? So there's a lot of pieces that we'll talk about coming from the coaches. What are coaches looking at your athlete? What are they saying to the recruiters? There's just a lot of pieces there that have the communication has not always been the best between parent and coach. And so on the parent side, when your player gets into a car, hey, how'd your lesson go? And the kid says, oh, it went good. I just spoke to somebody down in Houston about this at Dylan was at a perfect game showcase, and this dad, him and I were talking. His son was pitching, and we were just talking, just like you and I were in Atlanta, and just talking baseball, talking about our kids, and he mentioned something about his pitching coach, and he said, yeah, I just don't get a lot of information from him. And I said, yeah, it's the same thing. Like, hey, how'd your lesson go? Went good. And you're like trying to pull him, like, give me more. Because as parents, even though I may not understand completely what my son or daughter is going to tell me on what their coach is trying to get them to do, I at least want the knowledge. Like, I want to be able to help. So is there something I can buy? Is there something I can do at home that I could make that maybe helps them practice what I'm paying this expert to help my child, get better? And the end result is what? We want our children to have a smile on their face. We want our kids to hopefully grow up maybe better than what we did and have it easier. We want to be able to throw all of our knowledge, that all the things we did wrong, all the things we did right, and let them process that and have a really fun journey in life. And we're going to get into some of that stuff. So I'm excited to bring on some special people that I think can elaborate a little bit more on their journey. And Dave, this might even get a little deep too. It may get deep with how, like I'm thinking blue tuxedo, orange tuxedo one day. I'm thinking some
They landed on the moon.
Dumb and Dumber.
No way. Look, like you're saying, with our experiences, we were there as players. We were professional players. We were scouts. We were coaches. We were travel ball coaches. I was a high school coach. I was a college coach. I coached internationally in Europe. I coached my own daughter, which is its own bunch of stress and trial and error. And I love her to death. I hope she would say the same thing after we were done. Megan played 4 years and starred in college and broke a stolen base record herself. And she's now working on her doctorate. I mean, I couldn't be a more proud dad. But yeah, there was some touch and go there where, okay, how do you push? How far do you push? How much do you push? How much do you just hug and say, it'll be okay, sweetie? And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that anytime I speak, any clinic I give, any camp I give, I end up always talking to the parents, and I meet so many good people around the country, and almost every one of them is just begging for the right answer, because everybody wants to be a good parent. Everybody wants to do something good for their child, to provide a future for them, to provide an athletic future for them if that's the course they're going. And they just don't know what's the right answer. Hopefully they're tied into the right high school coach or the right travel ball coach where they're getting the good information, but they're just begging, what should I do? What can I do? Because I will do it. And they're grasping at straws, throwing money in a lot of different places that they don't need to. And hopefully we can answer a bunch of those questions here on our podcast.
Yeah, I agree. You brought something up too, with the financial part of the game, right? And how much money we spend as parents, as looking back at our journey as athletes and the amount of money that our parents probably spent, the time, the travel, the gas, it takes a toll on you. It becomes consumes you and becomes your life. Your vacations a lot of times are generally spent with your travel ball other parents, and wherever your daughter or son or athlete is playing. There's a lot to that. So again, info@thescouthub.com. Send your questions in, and we'll go ahead and answer those in our next podcast. We'll try to get through as many as we can. I think it'll be fun as we start getting some of these live Facebook videos going in the evenings, maybe Thursday evenings, if we can swing that. That's when we're planning on launching these podcasts. So we're obviously recording it a couple days prior to, but then we'll be launching Thursday evenings consistently, which will be a lot of fun, and grow our following, and just really just try to help. I know you're so humble, Dave, but the amount of people and athletes that you've been able to help over your lifetime to date has been incredible. And I think organizations have you come and speak to the families, to the players, for a reason. You and your wife are road travelers. Like you guys, you're road warriors. You get on the road, you're traveling from tournament to tournament, seeing all these different girls playing, and trying to reach out and achieve their lifelong dreams. And people are having you talk to these young aspiring athletes for a reason. And I'm really excited to have you on the show, and we can touch into some of that stuff. So
I will give you Mr. Blyleven, the main thing that you are missing, not coaching girls. Because when I speak to boys, I get a thank you, I get a head bob, I get a pound or a high five. But when I speak and help the teenage girls, oh, the looks on their face, I get chocolate chip cookies, I get handwritten thank you letters, I get hugs.
Wow.
It's just it's the difference of male and female, of course, and how appreciative they are. Everybody's appreciative, but oh, it is so hard for me to say no when it comes to helping a young kid. And here we are. Let's try to help some more.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm really excited to get going. This was our first podcast as an intro to introduce everybody to who we are and a little bit about our backgrounds and what we're going to be bringing on the show. So starting next week, we'll be announcing through social media who our guests will be, and so that way people can follow us. We'll probably post something up on Tuesdays, letting everybody know who came on the show, and then on Thursday it'll be aired live on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, and so that way you can catch your favorite All About the Game podcast with Todd Blyleven and Dave Majeski.
Woo woo!
Yeah. Well, Dave, we're going to go ahead and end this right now. I know some of our podcasts, just so everybody's listening, may end up being 30 minutes typically, especially when we have a guest on. They're about 45 minutes to an hour. So it'll be nice, while you're in your car driving to those tournaments, you can put us on. We'll also be hosting all of our podcasts on the scouthub.com. And I think, did we want to mention a little bit more about the Scout Hub, maybe some updates? I don't think we want to make this an infomercial. Certainly you can go on to the scouthub.com, check us out, what Dave and I have been working on. You want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. We don't need this to be our own personal infomercial. Go to our website. However, it does steer the ship for us. It does take us all over the country where we get to work with all these kids, where we get to work with all the parents and speak. And basically this started with Todd and I in separate states and separate worlds, and COVID hit, and we were both doing video lessons. We were both trying to still further things in the baseball and softball world. And on my end, I got online and thought, this is great, but I want to do it bigger and better. I found Todd, who had this technology already in place where we could still do our lessons, still help kids, still evaluate. And Todd, I know how humble you are. Your hard work put together the Scout Hub where we can provide feedback to everybody. So it was easy to me to find that this was the right product and the right person leading it, and I want to be a part of it. One thing led to another, and we're meeting under a tree watching your son playing baseball.
Yeah, it was pretty cool there in Cobb County, watching Dylan play and getting a chance to meet you physically, and yeah, it was a pretty cool day. Yeah, I'm excited about this. The Scout Hub, we've got some updates. We'll probably maybe touch on those every once in a while, just with any groundbreaking stuff. But I would suggest maybe go to the scouthub.com and just in short, we're a sports technology and development company. We provide software for athletes, coaches, organizational owners to help them evaluate their athletes, and then the players end up getting these really cool online player pages they can use for recruiting purposes and see their evaluation stack up. So it's a little bit different than your typical player page you'd receive from, say, a Baseball Factory or Perfect Game. Not knocking any of those companies. Ours is just a little bit different and has, I think, a little bit more detail to the development and tracking of your game. And so excited to launch those. launched in football. We're launching in golf. We got another huge international sport we're going to be launching and coming up. I'm super excited about. So we're doing some cool stuff there. But yeah, when you and I talk during the week, it's usually about business, but then there's all this really fun stuff. And so I'm excited to share that with our viewers.
I think I have an unexpected way to end the podcast. Let's do random trivia question for Mr. Blyleven, whose pretty wife and daughter are on a girls' trip. So the unexpected question, Todd, is, what did the boys have for dinner last night?
Well, yeah, we ate separately, which was odd. I don't even know what Dylan had. And I had Wendy's. So that's, but so Kathy, she's awesome. She made all these like baked lasagnas and enchiladas and things already pre-made for us, and she stuck them in the freezer. I put this thing of baked pasta in the fridge to thaw it out like 2 days ago. I was planning on making that last night. She even has all the instructions on there, bake at 350, 30 minutes, remove plastic. Yeah, you cannot bake the plastic. And but it was still frozen. So tonight we are having Kathy's baked pasta. Maybe I'll put some pictures up on this thing. But pretty amazing. She's an amazing cook. But we definitely miss our girls. So, yeah, they'll be home soon.
Good.
Yeah, but we're bachelors right now. Laundry's all over the place. Probably shouldn't say that. Kathy, we're good. We're fine. House is still here, so we're good. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Hey, Dave.
Number 1 in the books.
Number 1 in the books. All right, everybody. Listen, you all be safe. Enjoy your life. Walk. Take each step with purpose, and always moving forward.
See you next time.
See y'all.
The Scout Hub's Pro Coaches product is an easy-to-use reporting tool, helping coaches evaluate their athletes' mechanics using their phone, tablet, or computer. Coaches can even add the athlete's analytical metrics captured from great brands like Pocket Radar, Blast Motion, and others too. Evaluations literally take minutes to do, which doesn't take away from the athlete's instructional time or your personal time after your coaching day is complete. Coaches receive an online coaches package containing the evaluations they have written over time, which becomes a valuable tool helping design a more focused development plan for each athlete. The athlete also receives a state-of-the-art online player page at no additional fee, which contains the Pro Coaches evaluations. Each time the coach evaluates their game, the evaluations stack up over time, giving each athlete the opportunity to track their progress and view the documented feedback, helping each athlete get better. Increase your retention rates and your income. Track and manage your athlete's progression. Add value to your athlete's experience. And separate from your competition today. Check out the Pro Coaches page on the website and try it for free for 7 days.